Hello guys, in this video we're going to take a look at solving binomials or factoring binomial problems. So when you have a binomial, you have two parts. It might look a little bit like this. We have an x squared minus 49. And when I look at this, I'm like, this is missing something in comparison to one of our previous problems. So in this problem, I had an x squared term, an x to the first power, and then I had my constant, my minus or plus number. Here I have the x squared term, check, just like we did here. We have our minus or plus a number term, just like we did here. What we're missing is this middle term. So I'm going to add that in. I'm going to add in an x squared and a minus 49. And in the middle, I'm going to put in an x. Now, obviously, I can't just change the number however I want, change the problem however I want, but there is a particular number that represents nothing. And so that is 0. We can plug in a 0 to say, hey, this isn't really there, this isn't really a term, but it's helpful for us to kind of represent that in the context of factoring because that's the type of problem that we're most used to seeing. Then I go over here and I'm going to draw my factor x. We take this number out front, this coefficient is 1, and this is 49. We multiply 1 and 49 together, we get negative 49. So we have two numbers that multiply together to give us negative 49. And they need to add together to give us that middle term, that 0. So we need to think about numbers that multiply to give us negative 49, and that's going to be a negative 1 and a positive 49, or vice versa, a positive 1 and a negative 49. Things that would also work would be a positive 7 and a negative 7. So when we're looking at this, we want one of those combinations that would add to be 0. So that's going to be a negative 7 and a positive 7. We use those factors to then break apart that middle term. So minus 7x and plus 7x. That would add, that would combine to give us 0. If we were kind of thinking of this as a problem that we were adding things together, combining like terms, that would give us that next step. Now, we're factoring. So we're looking for what do these two things have in common here? So we have an x squared. We know x squared is x times x, and we have a minus 7x, which would be minus 7 times x. So what do those both have in common? Well, they both have an x. We can factor out that term that's related to both of those. What that leaves us with is an x and then a minus 7. We repeat that same process here. We have a 7x, a positive 7x. So that's a positive 7 times x. And we have 49, negative 49. Negative 49 is positive 7 times negative 7. So we're going to factor out that positive 7 that they both have in common. And that leaves us with an x and a minus 7. Now we look for what do both of these have in common. Just like how we were looking for commonalities in our terms individually here, we can look for commonalities across both of these. And we see, all right, look, we have an x minus 7 that appears in both of those. So that's going to be our next term that we factor out, x minus 7. When we do that, we remove that x minus 7, we write down what we had left over, just like we did over here. So what we have left over is this x and this plus 7. And that is our factored form. When we're looking at a binomial, we're going to break it apart and just repeat the same procedures that we would if we were factoring a trinomial. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys.